What is going on, guys? They say that sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't make. On the flip side, sometimes the worst deals are the ones you don't make. NFL teams have learned time and time again that when you get the chance to land a franchise-changing star, you have got to finish the deal. Otherwise, you'll live to regret it for a long, long time. Here is a list of 9 major free agent NFL signings that almost happened. Ones that could have changed the football world forever. Number 9, Emmanuel Sanders to the Patriots. The Patriots had lost top wideout Wes Welker to free agency, and they released Brandon Lloyd following a disappointing season. Bill Belichick was desperate for wide receivers, so he threw Emmanuel Sanders a 1-year offer sheet worth $2.5 million. That was a fair price for the Pittsburgh Steelers' flashy workhorse wideout. Sanders put up some solid numbers as the number 3 receiver behind Mike Wallace and Antonio Brown during his early years. Surely Sanders would have performed greater in an offense commanded by Tom Brady, right? Had the Steelers decided not to match, they would have received New England's 2013 third-round pick in return. But with the aforementioned Mike Wallace leaving for the Miami Dolphins in free agency, the Steelers knew they couldn't afford to lose Sanders, so they ultimately agreed to match the Patriots' offer. Sanders then tuned in a career year with 67 receptions for 740 yards and 6 touchdowns. He signed with the Denver Broncos in free agency a year later, where he recorded 4 1,000-yard seasons. He also played an instrumental role in helping them win Super Bowl 50. Yeah, the Patriots turned out to be fine, winning 3 Super Bowls to close out the decade and all. But how much scarier would that offense have been with Sanders? Number 8, Dont'a Hightower to the Steelers. Hightower picked the perfect time for a career year. He earned a Pro Bowl selection in 2016 and led the Patriots to their 2nd Super Bowl championship in 3 years. Now it was time for the athletic linebacker and renowned leader to secure that life-changing money. The Pittsburgh Steelers made a hard play for Hightower, and for good reason. The Patriots had just embarrassed Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, and Hightower was a thorn in the side of Ben Roethlisberger and company. Adding Hightower would bolster the Pittsburgh defense while also weakening a division rival. This was going to be a double whammy, or so the Steelers thought. The Steelers offered Hightower a deal that would have paid him around $9 million annually. They also told Hightower that the offer would be taken off the table if he had left Pittsburgh without signing. Hightower wound up returning to the Patriots on a bargain 4-year deal worth reported $35.5 million. It was a generous hometown discount for Hightower, and his selflessness paid off with a 3rd Super Bowl ring in the 2018 offseason. Most of Belichick's veteran superstars tend to leave for greener pastures in free agency, but Hightower made the decision to stick around with the team that quickly developed him into a star. It obviously paid off, and the Steelers probably regret rushing him on such a decision. Number 7, Dez Bryant to the Ravens. The 3-time Pro Bowl wideout was released by the cap-strapped Dallas Cowboys after the 2017 season. There was no shortage of interest for the game-changing veteran. That included the Baltimore Ravens, who especially made a hard play for Bryant. In the 2018 offseason, the Ravens reportedly submitted Bryant a multi-year offer. This was because they were up against the cap and wouldn't have been able to make it work with a 1-year deal. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Baltimore was willing to give Bryant around $7 million annually on their multi-year offer. That seemed like a fair price for an injury-prone wideout that was about to hit 30. Plus, the Ravens would have given him the prime opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl championship. But it was well known at the time that Bryant was looking for a 1-year deal in order to reset his market value for 2019 free agency. That ploy worked out nicely for Alshon Jeffrey in 2017 after all. So Bryant turned down Baltimore's offer and chose to explore his market even further. He didn't sign until November 2018 with the New Orleans Saints. But Bryant unfortunately suffered a torn Achilles tendon during a practice, ending his season before it even started. Bryant went unsigned and didn't play at all in the 2019 season. Dez has expressed no regrets over turning down the Ravens. Of course, he probably would have accepted it if he had known that Lamar Jackson was about to become a superstar, and that his value would never be that high again. Number 6, Kirk Cousins to the Jets. It's extremely rare for Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks to enter free agency, so it's no surprise that Kirk Cousins generated a ton of interest when he hit the open market in 2018. Fresh off an NFC Championship game appearance, the Minnesota Vikings became heavily involved in the Cousins sweepstakes, with the quarterback-desperate New York Jets also making a strong push. The Vikings eventually won the sweepstakes after giving Cousins a 3-year deal worth $84 million. Every single penny of it was guaranteed. But Cousins received an even more lucrative offer from the Jets, a 3-year pact worth $90 million. And yeah, it was all fully guaranteed money as well. Luckily for Cousins, the Jets' mega offer forced the Vikings to bump up their proposal from $70 $75 million all the way up to $84 million. It was close enough to New York's offer, and the chance to win right away was worth leaving $6 million on the table for Cousins. So he finally signed on the dotted line with Minnesota. The Jets would find their quarterback of the future at the draft, moving up to select Sam Darnold with the number 3 overall pick. And seeing how frustratingly inconsistent Cousins has been, the Jets are probably relieved he didn't end up coming aboard. Number 5, Albert Haynesworth to the Buccaneers. The 6'6", 335-pound defensive tackle was coming off a career year with the Titans, leading them to the best record in the NFL. Up next, it was time for Haynesworth to land a life-changing contract in 2009 free agency. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers made a strong push for Haynesworth, and the whole no-state tax thing obviously worked to their advantage. But Haynesworth opted to sign with the Washington Redskins, instead inking a 7-year deal worth $100 million. Later on, Haynesworth spoke on Sirius NFL Radio that the Buccaneers offered him an even greater deal. He described the offer as a whole lot more. More specifically, 20% more. Haynesworth added that he was appealed by the chance to play in a major market like Washington with a huge fan base, while pointing out that Tampa wasn't the same in those regards. Well, let's just say that the Buccaneers really dodged a bullet there. Haynesworth's contract went down as one of the worst in NFL history. He joined the team out of shape, clashed with coaches, and openly criticized the defensive schemes. Haynesworth's attitude and laziness became too much for the Redskins, and the team suspended him for the final 4 games of the 2010 season. He was traded to the New England Patriots in 2011, but even Bill Belichick couldn't get anything out of him. Haynesworth was released mid-season, and the Buccaneers finally got their hands on him after making a waiver claim. However, Haynesworth was released shortly after the 2011 campaign, and he was out of football soon after. Perhaps Haynesworth's career would have ended on a much better note if he had gone to Tampa Bay earlier, but we'll never really know. Number 4, Deion Sanders to the Dolphins. Primetime spent 1 season with the San Francisco 49ers, but it was certainly one for the ages. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award and his first Super Bowl ring before entering free agency in 1995. Sanders became one of the most sought-after free agents ever that offseason. At least a half dozen teams made a push to land the best cornerback of all time, and the Miami Dolphins appeared to have the inside track on the primetime sweepstakes. In fact, Don Shula and company were interested in Sanders before he signed with the 49ers in 1994. And while he was playing in the majors, Sanders even encouraged the Dolphins to come get him. He was quoted as saying the following when asked about the possibility of coming to South Beach. "I'm glad you asked that question, because I didn't want to discuss football, but I'm so tired of the Dolphins management fooling the fans in Miami, like they've really been pursuing Deion Sanders. We haven't yet had a call from anyone in the Dolphins organization in the last year, so let's quit playing with these fans down here. If you really want to pursue me, you know my agent. Give him a call. I'll be here the next couple of days. I won't be hard to find." But the Dolphins never logged down the deal, and they definitely lived to regret it. Sanders signed a $35 million contract with the Dallas Cowboys in September, and he played an integral role in helping them win their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. Sanders continued his Pro Bowl play in Dallas, and the Dolphins never got close to a Super Bowl in Dan Marino's final seasons. So NFL teams, next time a generational player tells you to call his agent, you should do it. Number 3, Peyton Manning to the Cardinals. Offseason neck surgery forced Peyton Manning to miss the entire 2011 season with the Indianapolis Colts. Sure enough, they landed the 1st overall pick and decided to draft generational talent Andrew Luck. That meant having to release a 36-year-old Manning in order to get out of the $90 million contract they handed him in the 2011 offseason. Manning and the Colts agreed to part ways, and he quickly became the most desired quarterback in history. The Tennessee Titans, Kansas City Chiefs, Washington Redskins, Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers, Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, and Arizona Cardinals were among the many teams mentioned as possible suitors. But it sounded like the Cardinals were emerging as the favorite for Manning. He worked out in Phoenix, reportedly spending 6.5 hours at the team headquarters. And ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Cardinals and Denver Broncos were the 2 most likely landing spots. Of course, the Cardinals had revived the career of another MVP and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner a few years earlier. And with Larry Fitzgerald at the helm, Manning had good reason to go to Arizona. But he ultimately decided to go to the Broncos, thanks to some masterful negotiating and recruiting from John Elway. It was a 5-year pact worth $96 million, and it paid off perfectly. He led Denver to 4 AFC West Division titles, 2 AFC championships, and a Super Bowl 50 ring. Oh, and he won the 2013 MVP while retiring as the all-time passing yards and passing touchdowns leader. Arizona, God, you almost had it in the bag. At least Kyler Murray's looking pretty good. Number 2, Drew Brees to the Dolphins. When the San Diego Chargers acquired Phillip Rivers in the 2004 draft day blockbuster with the New York Giants, it was clear that Brees would be playing elsewhere in short time. The Chargers finally decided not to bring him back after the 2005 season, and Rivers took over as the starter from there. The Miami Dolphins and New Orleans Saints became the frontrunners in the Brees sweepstakes. It looked like the Fins were about to finally find a long-term answer behind center, following a few painful years in the post-Dan Marino era. But Miami team doctors suggested that they stay away from Brees due to concerns about his shoulder, as he had been injured in the 2005 season. The Dolphins decided to steer clear from the risk, and they instead traded for Minnesota Vikings Pro Bowl signal caller Dante Culpepper. The Saints won the sweepstakes by giving Brees a $60 million deal. All he did was lead them to a Super Bowl 44 championship while turning this long-time losing team into an NFC juggernaut. Oh, and Brees has since become the all-time passing yards and passing touchdowns leader. And the Culpepper trade didn't exactly work out for Miami, and they're still hurting over the decision to pass on Brees. He could have single-handedly changed the entire landscape in South Beach. Number 1. Reggie White to the 49ers. After 8 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, White entered free agency in 1993. The legendary pass rusher had 6 first-team All-Pro selections, 1 Defensive Player of the Year award, and 2 NFC Defensive Player of the Year awards on his resume. Teams wanted White badly. White didn't get many chances to compete for a title with the Eagles. He made it clear that he wanted the opportunity to win, and White even called the 49ers attractive. Being a Christian minister, he also said he would have chosen the San Francisco 49ers if it was entirely up to him. But White also added that he had to, and I quote, "go where God wants me to go," end quote. White's agent also talked to the 49ers owner Eddie DeBartolo Jr., as well as President Carmen Policy. The cap-strapped 49ers finally offered White a 5-year deal worth $19.5 million. But the last 2 years of the deal wouldn't be guaranteed. The Green Bay Packers upped the 49ers by offering White a 4-year deal worth just over $17 million, which included a fancy $4.5 million signing bonus. White took it, and the rest is history. It's definitely what God wanted. White and Brett Favre turned the Packers into a 90s juggernaut that reached 2 Super Bowls, and they won it all in the 1996 season. White's Packers eliminated the 49ers 3 times in the postseason during the 90s, and he captured a 2nd Defensive Player of the Year award in 1998. But how different NFL history would have been if White snubbed the Packers in favor of the star-studded 49ers. What other major NFL free agent signings almost happened? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're on everything. Go find us. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click right down below, and subscribe to TPS because we post videos every single day. Every day's a new video, so subscribe. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
My knee.